So hi folks, it's Kim McLeod from Indie Authors World and we're back for another book Blether. This series we're doing all for Book Week Scotland and we're having some great blethers with some of our authors, and I am delighted that we have the very lovely Ms. Jennifer Gunn here to join us tonight. So hi Jennifer, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. So Jennifer's joining us all the way from the US of A. And it's still daylight where you are. I can see the light behind you.
Yep, it's still daylight. Got our first snow is still on the ground, so we're into winter now.
So before we kind of start our blether, can you just tell folks who are watching a little bit about you, what you do, and tell us a wee bit about your book.
Okay, well, like Kim said, we're in the United States and we live in Ohio, and just getting into winter. Here in Ohio, we raise sheep. We raise Romeldale CVM sheep. They are beautiful, and we just had lambing. We decided to lamb in the fall instead of the spring, so we just did that. Their story came out of that one. The next book, maybe that'll be in there. We had a little incident with one of the lambs, or one of the ewes. Her lamb got stuck, so I had to go up in there and help her out, and it was a horrific experience, but for the sheep more than me, probably. Being me, I didn't know what I was doing, so I just tried. But anyway, the ewe named Lauren, she lived, and her baby Buster Keaton, he lived, and he even had a brother, Fred Astaire, came out. So we can say we had a successful lambing season.
Yep, well done.
Yeah, and we're just I'm still working on the Great Sheep Expedition. I'm transcribing. That's how the whole book came about.
Yep.
Was that I'm transcribing. I think I have 28 interviews I have to transcribe with shepherds and sheep-related people. So that's going to I need an intern, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so I was working on that the book came about, and my book is The Dog with Not One F to Give, How to Manage Your F's for a Stress-Free Life. And it's just a little stress management book, one little technique for how to manage your stresses. And I wrote it, it's been out now for a year. Can you believe a year?
No, it's amazing. Where did the time go?
Yeah, and so I've had really, I think, decent success with it. It's I got a really bad review on Amazon. That was horrible. I was like, dude, it's not like War and Peace or anything. It's a little stress management book. But I guess I'm finding that that just comes with the territory. There's always going to be a hater. There's always going to be someone. So I just take it with a grain of salt. And just what I thought was interesting about that review was that he actually used my analogy in his criticism of my own book. So I was like, okay, so it wasn't a fail. He got something out of it. He used it himself. I don't know if he actually realized he did that, but he did. So I was like, you know what? It works for even the haters.
That's so funny, actually.
Yeah, it was.
We're going to talk about blethers. So he was having a bit of a blether with himself then on Amazon, leaving a review.
Right. Yeah.
And and just kind of voicing his opinion, as people do. The thing I think I kind of often say to writers when they're thinking about reviews, because it's something that everybody hates to see, that they're going to get a bad review.
Right.
It's like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And that is one person's opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And his opinion is no more, doesn't have any more weight,
right,
than the next person.
Yeah.
If you never had any good reviews, then you might have to go, maybe it didn't quite hit the mark for what people were looking for. But when you get one bad review, and it helps balance things out as well, because if everybody loved it, the world would be a bit of a strange place, really, because it's not a book that everybody's going to get, So, but oh well, that's it. We're not going to give an F about that. Yeah. It's not F worthy.
I gave him one. I did give him one. I was, but like I said, it just comes with it, and it was, and I didn't write the book for everyone. I wrote it, with my audit, with a specific audience. What I found is that it actually, the book goes with more than just the audience. I had written it for military, law enforcement, emergency personnel. That's why I used the language that I did in it. That's what I said. What I found was it actually fits more people. Mothers, a lot of mothers are reading this.
Yep.
So the moms out there are liking it. It's not just for the audience that I wrote it for, but we have been able to, speaking of that specific audience, one of the things I had wanted to do when I wrote the book was be able to donate some copies. And we've raised enough money and done fundraisers, and people have donated books and money to buy books, that we've actually been able to donate books to the entire team of Green Berets I was with in Afghanistan. Those got sent out. We also had raised enough to give the entire counter-narcotics team I worked with in Savannah, Georgia. They all got a copy. And I don't know how countless others, we've been able to donate them to American Legions and the VFWs, and veterans organizations. And there's some at some VA hospitals and some prisons. So it's been
awesome.
Yeah.
That's such a great thing that you've been able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, when we talked way back, about what you wanted to achieve with this book.
Yeah.
So much of it recognizing the stress levels and the difficulty of the jobs that these people do. Because
Mm-hmm.
you've been there. That's the thing, is you've been there, you've seen it, you've done it, you've been part of that world. And like we had those chats about, they might not admit to kind of like feeling the stress, or not really have words to be able to kind of share how they're feeling and have something to kind of work on. But the way that the book was put together was ideal for for them, so that they could have a laugh about it in a way, and start to open up to one another. So I mean, well done. I'm so proud of you for all that you've done to achieve that. You should be really, really pleased.
Well, thank you. And I think what you and Sinclair do, I was thinking about this because it's been a while since we had a wee Blether. I used a wee Blether.
But I'll say, just before we go any further, that Jennifer has a Scots husband.
Yes.
So she understood the term Blether.
We managed to not live in Scotland. I don't know what happened. But don't worry, Ullapool. I'll be there one day again. Every time we go to Scotland, I insist on going to Ullapool, and I'm sure that everyone in Ullapool thinks that I'm probably weird if they watch their Facebook page. They have to be like, who is this random American that keeps sending us friend requests and keeps liking all of our posts? I think I even sent money to one of their school things. They're probably like, what? That is so weird. But anyway, Ullapool, that's me. But I was thinking about what you and Sinclair do, and with independent authors and indie authors and self-publishing. And I really think what you guys do is so important, because not everyone can get that. Market for publishing houses is so freaking crazy, but everyone has something to say. And like you were saying, not having the language, what you and Sinclair do is you afford people the opportunity to have their voice, and whereas maybe they wouldn't have. And if someone is self-published, an indie author, they're self-published, and they go through, and even if one person, the marketing part has proven to be like the hardest thing, because I just hate, like so many other people, I hate putting myself out there, and I hate rejection and all of that. But you know what, if one person reads your book that you guys helped publish, and someone did it, even if it's not like a self-help book or stress management book, it could just be any story. If you reach just one person and it changes their life or makes their life a better place, then you've had your voice and you've done what you set out to do. I mean, we'd all, of course, like to sell millions of copies, but maybe that wasn't our intent, and it doesn't have to be either. It's just getting there. And I think Claire Duffy, is that her name,
Yep,
who I
yep,
was with?
yep,
Her book, I didn't finish reading the others in the series, but I read the first one. And, you know, I still think about her book. I don't know how she's doing. I hope she's doing great and everything, because her book is really awesome. I really enjoyed her story. But, you know, that stays. And it wasn't, you know, it was a fiction story, and it still stays in my head. And, you know, so everyone who gets to publish a book, and even if one person buys it and reads it, then I think what you guys do is great by giving people like us a voice.
Thank you. And it's kind of why we still do what we're doing, because I mean, that's the thing, I love to blether to everybody, as you know. And it's the bit that makes this so worthwhile for us, because I get to blether to everybody, like yourself and all the other writers that I come across. Find out, you know, why you want to do the book. What are your hopes and dreams for this? You know, what message are you wanting to get across? What is it you want to do? And then we give it to Sinclair, and he turns my blethers with you and everybody else into that magical, you know, book that, you know, here we are. You've got it in your hand.
Yeah.
You know? So that's the bit that for me is just, it makes it all worthwhile. You know, I just, you know, I love a good blether, and I get the chance to blether to some fabulous people now.
Yep. And Helen too, I have to say, my book, Helen Cochran was the illustrator for it. I get so many comments. I love that we still stay in touch, even via Facebook. But everyone just loves, I mean, her pictures, I still go through and look at her pictures. She did such a great job on the illustrations.
Helen is fabulous. So what we will do is, if you want to check out at the end, we're going to ask Jennifer for her website, but we'll also put a wee link to Helen's as well, so that you can
that'd be great.
Check out her stuff, because she's absolutely awesome. We love her.
We love her.
So, right, I want to ask you a few wee questions then.
Okay.
About, you know, we've had a wee chat about the book, and so has writing been something that's been part of your life for a long time? I know this is, you know, this first book, but has it been something that you've always done? Or?
Well, not very well. And I still, according to my Amazon review, I still don't do it very well. But I was digging up when I was looking at the next book that's going to be coming, and I started doing research for that. I was going through boxes of all my stuff, and I'm doing this whole minimalizing thing or whatever. So I've been going through boxes, and I found some of my writing from when I was, oh my gosh, in middle school. And so I think that I don't want to say I've always written, because no one's ever even seen that kind of stuff. You know, that's like, well, I had to burn my diaries, because I don't ever want that. If there had been cell phones when I was growing up, that would have been awful. So anyway, but yeah, so I found these early writing things, and I think I've always wanted to write, and it's still fun. Like one of my bucket list thing was to have a book at Barnes & Noble. And I just went in there the other day, and on the way home from dropping Alex at the airport, and I was walking by, I'm like, well, let's go see if there's any books left. And there's one of my books left, and I'm still like, yay, there's my book at Barnes & Noble. Yeah. So I do like writing, yeah.
So well done. Yeah, you actually achieved a bucket list item, so that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, is that people can think about they've maybe been writing because sometimes you're writing for yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Just to make sense of things, whether it's journals or keeping a diary or, you know, and that can just help us to, you know, to stay connected with ourselves, to keep a note of what's happened, so that when you do go back and look at them, you're immersed back in those memories. And they don't always have to then be, you know, something that's written for public consumption.
Right, yeah.
That can, you know, because I still write my journals. And although I did have some of the stuff in my book that I wrote, it's not, you know, there's not a lot of it there. There's a lot more stuff that I've kept that is really personal, but I still use it as a way to, for me, it's a kind of de-stress tool and a way to sometimes make sense of, you know, what else is going on. So writing can do that for you too, can't it? So
it definitely is. I noticed I get I'm not one that sits down and has a designated writing time. I've noticed that just all of a sudden, when the moon and the stars and the sun align and everything, then I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to write. And I noticed I get very like not agitated, but I want to write. And so just everyone needs to leave me alone. And I wish I could go hide in like a little hobbit hole somewhere and just write, because then I just want to write until I get it out. And then it's like a relief. And it's like, oh, okay, until next time. And then it starts building again, and then I have to write again.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been talking to some of our other writers about whether real life crossed over into what they were writing about.
Mm-hmm.
Your book, though, is a lot of your own experiences,
right? Yeah.
You know, from that. So definitely, you've got your understanding of the world and your view of this. You know, like, are you going to give an F about this or not? You know, so you were really sharing your thoughts and ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of you, really, I suppose, went into that book, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So that's maybe why it can be hard as well when somebody then criticizes, because it's maybe not like a piece of fiction even. You know, our fiction writers still, there's a lot of them in their fiction work too, because writers can't really write something and not have their own experiences and their own views of things. They're obviously going to come through in the book.
That's true, yeah.
But I understand it, because I remember when I published my book, that I was concerned, because it was a kind of personal, it was the story as well, that what are people going to say, because you're kind of opening up some avenues of what's going on inside your head, really, isn't it, to get people to think about. So
it's like, are people going to judge me? Are they going to, is he criticizing? Well, that guy was me. It's like, but anyway, but yeah, that's the scary thing about putting it out there. But, I think that I know it's so easy to sit here and say, don't let that stop, you doing it. But really, when you think about it, do you give an F? Are you gonna expend one of your valuable Fs about some people that maybe, do you really care about what they think? Maybe it's nice, but in the long run, I think it's so much more important to remember the person, even if it's one person that's going to benefit something from your book, even if it's escape into another world for a little bit of time. I know when I was young, I've always read, and my son has always read. We're all both big readers, and that's how I escaped, was to go into a book. So, and I'm sure that none of the authors that I read even know that, so you just never know. So I would say anyone who's like maybe holding back about sharing themselves, like you said, I put a lot of myself out in this. Because I just don't have any F's to spare anymore. So, but I would definitely say, if somebody's hesitant to write and put themselves out, just do so, because you never know whose one life you're gonna change. Oh my goodness. Do you want to see you want to see my research assistant?
Oh.
What is that? I don't even know what she's doing.
There you are, Blether with a upside down dog.
That's my research assistant right there. Yeah.
Obviously, having a little nap before you get put her back to work, then that's what's
right.
So, I know that we've had some good Blethers, certainly going in the past. So, have you got people nearby you, or people that are special to you, that you like to have a good Blether with?
Oh my gosh. What I have noticed, I keep saying that, but I've learned a lot about myself this last year, in particular, since I moved home. There are, and it's like, I think I used to be a little bit more social and more out, and I would just talk to anyone. But I've noticed as I'm getting older as well, that I'm much more selective about who I like to have a Blether with. And I think it's easy to have a wee Blether with, at the coffee shop, you can just talk to someone in that. But I think now it's more, what am I, what's coming of that? Why do I have it in the first place? Why do we even Blether? A little one at the coffee shop is just connecting with another human being, even if it's just for 2 minutes, that's a really wee Blether. And then so I guess there's different kinds of Blethers. So different people, different kind of Blethers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the thing, is that you don't always know the impact that that conversation is having
Yeah.
that other person. So if it is somebody in the coffee shop, that might have been
Yeah.
the only person they spoke to. You might be the only person that they spoke to that day.
Yeah.
Or or you just happened to, you gave them a smile, and you shared a couple of minutes with them, could really have brightened that person's day.
Yep.
And you just you don't really know, where that goes beyond that. That's the thing that kind of fascinates me, that if you have a conversation with someone, whether they go on and share anything. So if you can, I always like to think of, if I have an interaction with someone, that they leave feeling better than they did before they met me.
Right. Yeah.
So they leave, so we give them something to smile about, or we just have a bit of a laugh with people, and that you hope that maybe then carries on to the next person that they meet, and the
Yes.
next person that they meet, and somehow or other you're passing on some kind of good wishes and kindness, and a bit of joy that's just having this ripple effect.
Yeah, I have a story about that. Actually, I didn't even realize. I'm really nosy. I like to know what's up with people. I don't necessarily want to do anything with that, but I love to, like my background, I have counseling background as well. So, and cultural anthropology. So I'm interested in people, and I don't want to interact with them as much as I used to, but I still love to learn about them. I like to know what people are up to. And I was in California with my friend Patty, and we were interviewing shepherds and doing a bunch of sheep stuff. And we went in, it was time to get a drink for our wee Blether later that we would have sitting with our friend Susan. And so we went into the liquor store, package shop, and the guy behind the counter was very sour face, just not a happy camper. And so when we went up to the counter, I had asked him where his particular, I drink Di Serono. So I was like, where's the Di Serono? And he's like, I don't even know what that is. And I was like, oh, somebody's not having a very nice day. And he was just all frowning. And so when we got up to the thing, I was like, you know what? I said, I can either be a jerk back to him, I can do nothing and just get my drink and leave, or I can just see what's up with this guy. I said, so I'm kind of nosy. I'm up for a wee chat, little chat with this guy. So I was like, hey, what's wrong with your face? And he was like, what do you mean? I said, why are you doing that frown thing? Your face is like this, like you have a unibrow. And I'm like, why are you frowning like that? I said, are you having a bad day? And just that led into a conversation, and it got him chatting a little bit. And but we couldn't get him to smile, and I love to get people to smile. So we just were going on, and I was just telling my friend Patty, who was just like, she's very quiet, and she's kind of shy a bit, and she couldn't believe I was talking to this guy like this. I think she was like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, Patty, don't you think he'd be better looking if he just smiled just a little bit? And so we finally got the guy laughing, and we found out that some stuff had happened to him. And, by the time we left, he was laughing, and he was like, thanks for that. And I was like, yeah, whatever, and left. And to me, that was just what I do. And I never noticed anything about it. And Patty was like, gosh, you got that guy to smile. I never thought that. And I was like, if you just take a minute to have a little chat with somebody, you can, like you said, you can make a difference. And I didn't realize, I'm sure I don't do that all the time. I'm sure I leave plenty of conversations where people are like, wow, I don't need to have one of those with her again ever. But yeah, every little chance we get to have a little conversation with someone is a chance to have an impact on their life, be it good or bad.
Yeah. And some of those, and that's the thing. Then you've just shared a really interesting story. Then for me, you start to think, oh, I wonder what happened with that guy. I want to know. You're like, track him down. Can we find out what happened?
Right.
Did he start to stock some Di Serono in case you came back? That's
right. Yes, he knew what it was then.
But I suppose it is just this. We never know what can happen. But there's a lot of research out there around acts of kindness, and the impact that can have, the ripple effect that can have. Even just by there's two roads. If I'm driving down to the office, there are two of the roads that are often quite busy, and people are sitting there desperately trying to get out of the junction. Yeah. And if you see there's a gap, I'll stop and let somebody out. And that if you do that, then you think that person, then they think, oh, and they wave and they say thank you. If they don't say thank you, then yeah, then I'm not very happy. But yeah, there's, as long as they say thank you and acknowledge,
Right.
you know, the chance is that they're going to then do something kind for somebody else later that day.
Yeah.
And you just never know where, you know, where that can go, you know. So and it's the same with a conversation, really. You know, you just never know.
And you don't have to say a lot. There was a guy, I'll never know who he was. I'll never be able to find this man again. But he said 8 words to me that changed my life.
Okay.
And he really did. I'll try to make it a short story. I had just broken up with a fiance. I just moved out of our house into my own apartment. I had found out I had Graves' disease, so we were actually in the car on the way to Sioux Falls. We were living in South Dakota to get my radiation therapy that I'd been waiting 3 months for. My grandma had just died. You know, the guy I broke up with, but found out he'd been cheating, all this stuff. You know, I'm a single parent. I'm still going to school. Oh, it was a disaster. And I was like, that was a bad time. So here I am driving to Sioux Falls, which is 3.5 hours away from where we live, in a blizzard at like 4:30 in the morning. I had to be there by, 3:30 in the morning. So we're driving in this blizzard. Cody's in the back seat, and I hit a deer. Of course I hit a deer. So its head, bless its little heart, went through the windshield, and then it smashed the whole, it ended up doing like $5,000 worth of damage to the car, but its head went through the windshield, glass all over the front seat. I don't have time to stop because if I miss this appointment, I'm going to have to wait another 3 months to get the next appointment. So I'm like, Cody's like, what happened? I said, honey, hand me a blanket. And I stuffed it in the hole in the car, in the windshield. And I just kept driving. I called the sheriff's department. I called the insurance. And then when we finally did stop, there was blood and like fur all the way down. It was a disaster. But we get to a gas station. We actually had a couple minutes early. And I was like, I couldn't eat for 24 hours before. And so I told Cody, we need to get fuel for the car. So do you want a little snack or something? So we get out and we go into the gas station. We come out, I'd locked my keys in the car. And all this was like, at one time, and I'm just standing there looking at the car like this, and my little peanut head standing, he was a little guy then, he's standing next to me looking at the car, and this guy comes up to us, and he stood like this next to us, and was like this, and I didn't say anything for a minute, and he didn't say anything, he just stood there, and we're just like, And I said, I locked the keys in the car, and I have tears, I'm at this point, I'm a disaster. Tears rolling down, and he said the whole encounter, good thing there's a hole in the windshield. And I was like, I had been so upset it hadn't even occurred to me. So he just was like, good thing there's a hole in the windshield. He went up, pushed the towel out, reached in, unlocked the door. We got in the car, we left, and we made it to the appointment on time. And I've never, that was, 20 years ago or something like that. And I have never forgotten that man. And that's all he said was 8 or 9 words together, And so whenever things get like really crappy in my life, I'm always like, I always think of this guy. And I'm always like, it's a good thing there's a hole in the windshield. So I'm always trying to find the hole in the windshield, I guess, so to speak. It still makes me tear up when I think about this guy. So one sentence, and he impacted my whole life.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. That is a great story. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that, Jennifer. Yeah.
I wish there was a way I could tell him, because he'll never know. To him, he was like, there's just this dumb blonde who couldn't figure out how to open her door,
What was she crying about? Yeah, because he didn't know all your story either. He didn't know all of that as to, so I think that's the power of words and a bit of human connection.
Mm-hmm.
And just being able to see that, and for you then to carry that thought that it made you then look for, where's the silver lining in this, this story, which no doubt probably actually even influenced this.
Oh, I'm sure it did. Yeah.
So
it's influenced so much. So so even if my little book, and can do that for one person, then, you know, I can be happy with that. And I would tell everyone, just write, because you never know if you don't, for whatever reason, communicate with people, you know, person to person, you can still do it in your writing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and make a difference. So
yeah.
wow. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. It's been amazing
Yeah.
to have another wee blether with you tonight. And so where can people find out more about you? What's your website called?
We actually, now we've done a bunch of changing stuff around, and so now we do everything through our brackenmossfarm.com.
Okay.
And there you can go in and see about the sheep, because they're such a huge part. But I do a blog, you know, within where I'm kind of working through stuff with, you know, sheep as a metaphor for us, or for our lives, and trying to get some more stories out there. So everything's there, and you can also buy the book there. But yeah, so it's brackenmossfarm.com. Yeah.
Fabulous. We'll definitely put a link beneath the video in the comments. So have a look there. We'll put a wee link to Helen as well and give her a big shout out for the illustrations. And yeah, please do go and check out Jennifer's site. Have a look. Find out about her sheep. The sheep are fabulous. You know. And
they are wonderful.
all the things that go on there. Yep. So so it's just been such fun. I love to hear your stories. I just so love to connect with you, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. And thanks so much for joining me. So
all right, thank you for the blether.
thank you too.